Hey there, this is Mr. Icarus, and welcome to yet another edition of Doom Mod Madness. This time around, we're checking out boss battles, and if I had to describe this one, I'd say it's the younger, louder, slightly less intelligent brother of Stronghold. And if you need a little reminder over what Stronghold was like, it was basically Doom tower defense. You were defending an outpost against increasing waves of demonic invasion, and that's pretty much what's happening here. The key difference being Stronghold forced you to think about the upgrades and the items you were going to have to bring with you. It forced you to think a little bit more tactically, whereas Boss Battles just throws that entire model out the window and says, have everything, have all of the weapons, have all of the power-ups right off the bat. We're just going to go kill crazy all up in this business. Come to think of it, this mod probably has a lot more in common with Russian Overkill than it ever does with Stronghold. It could only hope to be as utterly ridiculous as Russian Overkill, but still, it certainly has its moments, because this mod at its heart is really all about instant gratification. I mean, giving you access to all of the weaponry for your chosen class up front is just an excuse for you to go absolutely bug nuts on all the enemies that are coming your way, and these weapons, oh, they're kind of chunky, they're kind of satisfying to use, and the class that I'm using here right now is the Quad Marine. One of 7 possible choices you can have when you start the game. All the other classes are taken from various other Doom engine games like Hexen, Heretic, and Strife, and this one is of course inspired by Doom itself. Each class has access to its own suite of unique weaponry, hence all the weird ammunition and pickups lying around. Those are for the other classes if I was playing this cooperatively, but for now it's all about the Quad Marine and his goddamn jetpack. That is right, I can fly. Not for very long, but it's fun. That's really what it is at the heart of it. We've also got access to all sorts of other power-ups here. This one I can't quite use just yet because there is a cooldown in effect for power-up usage, because you don't really lose these when you use them. But this dagger here will essentially give me double attack strength, allowing me to wreck even more face if I wasn't wrecking face already with all of these crazy alternate fire modes I have access to. And these power-ups do change up between classes as well, allowing for pretty interesting styles of gameplay. But in the end, it all comes down to the usual, really. Keeping yourself alive, keeping yourself stocked up with ammunition, and making sure that the oncoming horde dies an unpleasant death. So I've switched over to the Cleric Summoner class here, just to give you an idea of what the other gameplay styles are like within boss battles, and this stage in particular is all about defending the Holy Bible, which kind of goes with the overarching theme of having to defend heaven against a hellish invasion. But the interesting thing about the Cleric Summoner class is this: you can summon monsters to fight for you, and that's pretty much an essential thing for this particular class, because the weaponry isn't quite as powerful or as explosive as other classes like the Quad Marine. So you're going to have to rely on a lot of support assistance here in order to get through stages, especially if you're playing on your lonesome. Those are other characters you can see walking around there. Those are allies, and those are NPC characters that will generally do their best to kind of hold off the hordes, but really it all comes down to you. To be honest, I feel like the Cleric Summoner class could do with a little bit more balance here, because it feels overwhelmingly nerfed in comparison to other classes like the Quad Marine. Maybe that's by design, maybe that's to enforce a bit more cooperative play when playing with other people, but these attacks here, they may look cool, but they just feel like they're having no significant effect whatsoever on my enemies. In fact, I'd probably say that this staff and the Serpent Staff, which was the first one I was using, are the only 2 weapons that feel like they're worth a damn when playing as Cleric Summoner. And this feeling is compounded ever so slightly when you realize that most of the enemies I've been up against so far here are pretty much low-tier enemies, and it only gets tougher from here on in, and you just feel less and less effective as the round goes on. Okay, we're not too far off from a boss battle here, so I'm going to try my hand at summoning a high-tier monster, see what we get. Oh, it's a Cyber Demon. That is beyond perfect. In fact, I'm pretty sure it's a dual rocket-launching Cyber Demon as well, so, yeah, we're pretty much winning all of the things right now, and that is why the Cleric Summoner class here is probably my favorite out of the fantasy classes available. All the others have the same kind of nerfed feeling as the weapons do with the Cleric Summoner, but they don't have the advantage of being able to raise your own horde of ally demons. which, quite frankly, is just badass. And I'm pretty sure the boss we're going to be up against now is actually another Cyber Demon. So, yeah, place your bets, ladies and gentlemen, but, for the record, I'm betting on the guy with dual rocket launchers. This red guy here doesn't stand a chance. Like I say, you just don't get this kind of action with the other fantasy classes. I mean, the fighter has an invulnerability orb, the haste mage has a speed power-up. They just feel like chump change in comparison to the entertainment value you can get with the cleric summoner. And we're pretty much kicking ass. Oh wait, no, that's another Cyber Demon. The odds have just rapidly shifted against us. Defend the Bible, guys. Defend the friggin' Bible. But, oh, have we taken down the big guy? I think we've taken down the big guy. We just have to worry about the minor Cyber Demon. You know, it's only until you say certain things out loud that you realize how inherently ridiculous they sound. Minor Cyber Demon. In a mod featuring dual rocket-launching Cyber Demons, big red angry Cyber Demons, and doubtless other variations, it's the kind of thing that I feel like this mod needs to embrace more. It needs to embrace the ridiculous, be a little less concerned with weapon and class balancing, and just go absolutely balls out insane. Last but certainly not least, we're going to focus on the Stalker Strife class here, and this default weapon that it starts you out with is just ridiculous fun to use. It's quite possibly the most powerful weapon in this class's loadout, and it just tears through the enemies, chews through the ammunition, and it would probably be the only weapon you ever need to use for this class if it weren't for the fact that it also kicks up a dirt cloud with its primary fire, and this pretty much stops you from being able to tell if you've actually brought down an enemy or not, so you have to pause every now and again to let the smoke clear. Secondary fire is pretty interesting too. The rockets are slower, but whenever they connect they leave behind napalm, which is good for damaging any demons dumb enough to wander through the flames. And man, I am taking a few wallops here. I'm nearly out of armor, which means my health is soon to suffer the same fate. So yeah, the advanced weaponry isn't quite cutting it here, so I think it's about time I show you one of the power-ups. So that was a nuke, and to be perfectly honest, I don't think it's anywhere near powerful enough to warrant being called a nuke. It's pretty disappointing, actually, because ideally, that should have killed me. I mean, if it was a mini nuke, I could maybe understand, but if you're gonna have a fully fledged nuke as a power-up, you should make it as devastating as possible. You should make it just as dangerous to use. I mean, this is ideally the kind of power-up you should have to launch from halfway across the map in order to survive. That would be cool. That would be ridiculous. And it's the kind of thing that I just feel like this mod isn't embracing, and it could be so good if it did. I don't know, am I being too harsh on this one? There's clearly a lot of fun elements at play here. There's certainly no lack of choice when it comes to characters and weaponry and power-ups. It just feels like there's a little bit missing. Like it needs an extra kick up the arse to truly become something special. But as it stands right now, it's perfectly fine. It's perfectly okay. But in any case, you should probably take my opinions here with a pinch of salt, because I'm clearly playing this wrong. I'm playing this solo, where it's clearly intended as a co-op experience. That's kind of the context that I'm missing here. I mean, a lot of the issues that I've brought up are purely from a solo player perspective. A lot of the balancing issues, for example, may just suddenly melt away in the face of being able to play alongside buddies. But coming at this as a solo player, it does get a little repetitive after a while. But power-ups like this do at least help alleviate the fatigue, because this one makes you invisible, reflective, and makes demons scared of you, so they tend to run away, which is tremendously entertaining, especially considering I'm trying to gank a Cyber Demon here. But yeah, you should definitely give this mod a shot. It may not be as polished as something like Stronghold, it may not be as balls-out ridiculous as something like Russian Overkill, but hey, at least here you can stab a Cyber Demon in the ass. And you can do that as multiple classes, as well as a few classes that I haven't had time to cover here in this particular video. That's just how much variety and choice there is available to you. There's tons of stages to blast through. My only real suggestion here is make sure you bring a few buddies along for the ride, just to get the maximum amount of fun out of this particular mod. You know, if it wasn't already fun blasting all of these monster variants to smithereens, but the link, as usual, is in the description below. Hopefully you've enjoyed this video. Apologies if I've glossed over or missed any particular aspects of this mod. There was a lot of ground to cover with this one, and feel free to let me know what you thought in the comments below. Also, feel free to suggest any mods that you'd like to see me cover in future episodes of Doom Mod Madness. Thank you very much for watching. This has been Mr. Icarus. Icarus out.